Marlin fishing is the pinnacle.
All right, we're gonna let them go, guys.
Oh! There's another one there in the teaser.
What I live for and dream about is seeing a blue marlin on your teaser.
Right teaser! Reel on it! Get the harness on, Hunter.
Ultimate team player. Agua. Agua? You need another team player? Yeah, absolutely.
He's on the left lure! Reel on it! Clear the transom of rods and the rocket launcher.
And that's what we do. That's why we go fishing. That is what every blue water fisherman lives for. And if they don't, they haven't experienced it.
Got no hope left, basically. 15 minutes left on the clock, and we're all chilling in the cockpit. And all of a sudden, Cap up top yells, "Lefties, lefties!" Everyone's going wild, and then just crushes the lure. Yeah, baby!
Oh, yes!
This is the Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
Let's do this. It's go time on the Sport Fishing Championship. Time to catch some billfish. The NEFMA Blue Water Tournament from St. Augustine, Florida. It is time to catch the big boys, the big girls out there in the Atlantic. I'm Robbie Floyd alongside Ronnie Moore. We'll catch up with Peter Miller here in just a moment. Ronnie, from what we saw at the last stop, it's hard to keep that pace. Over 100 billfish caught.
It is. They had the mindset of white marlin and almost white marlin exclusively, but this week their mind returns back to that blue marlin specific. 350 points for those blue marlin. They want those big boys, and it's the 50th anniversary of this event in St. Augustine. You got to bring your best effort.
A lot of distance traveling as well, something we didn't see at the last round. Like to welcome everybody into our SFC studios. He's Ronnie. I'm Robbie, and Ronnie, the distance is going to be key here, especially on the first day, because the DR, they were going 10 miles. Here, it's probably more like 110 miles.
Yeah, and the opportunity for crazy weather is there. Obviously, if you go out 150, 200 miles, sometimes the weather can be a lot dicier. You also have a lot of strategy involved. The fuel consumption getting out there. Once you get out there, you can't run around and adjust. If you come in closer, you can obviously make a spot change if needed.
All right, let's bring in the third member of our team. And you know what, Ronnie, between yourself, myself, and this guy, Peter Miller, we have 3 World Sailfish titles at hand. So welcome on board, Peter. I know you've been on baby duty. You're there in Florida, but it's time to catch some big boys.
That's right. And these guys are armed with a full arsenal of tackle, leaders, and baits. And you saw these guys prepping while we were talking about this, and they are ready for everything. The blue marlin, the white marlin, sailfish, mahis, tunas, wahoos, and they're running long distances. And they have fuel bladders on these boats with electric pumps that pumps it into their boat, and they measure it perfectly so they can get in and get out flawlessly.
We'll talk about that. So many things at each and every stop. This is the third stop at 11, but we put all of these points together. We'll crown a champion at the end of the season in late August for a $1 million prize. But you want to start off, you know, this is the first standalone Atlantic event. You want to start off big here and build on that momentum.
I would 100% agree, Robbie. If you catch one blue marlin and you don't win the tournament, that's fine. Those go to your catch points, and it all builds for that $1 million at the end of the year, like you said, so that you can maybe be crowned a champion of the SFC in 2022.
Yeah, exactly right. But think about when we were here a month ago in Venice and Grand Isle. That was the very first ever sport fishing championship. We're around the rigs, around those platforms, daytime, nighttime fishing. A lot of fish were caught. A lot of big blues were caught.
Yeah, being able to have a variety of options when you're out fishing these tournaments makes it really exciting, because it's not just one species we're after. Obviously, the blue marlin you see here is, 350 points, and that's the one you want. You catch it first, you get an extra 100 points for 450. I mean, that is the ultimate. But if you could fish at night for swords and tunas, I mean, you've got the full coverage there, and I love fishing like that. Wide variety.
Ronnie, the amount of blue marlin caught by Moncherie, that's what put them on top. You get your event points, you get your catch points, you add them up all together, and that's why they're leading the Gulf Division, take home that big check. But that's not the only division. We're seeing guys that fish the Dominican Republic, our last event, they're going to put their points towards the Atlantic. They have that option, Gulf, Atlantic, and they choose Atlantic.
And just like the Louisiana event, Dominican Republic saved a lot of drama for the final day as well, where there was a flair for the dramatic. Teams that didn't do well early in the event had big comebacks. Teams that had the lead, we saw them struggle. But the Dominican Republic, it was a totally different flair, totally different mindset, and it was not spared from the big waves as well.
Yeah, you talk about flair. That is a flair move. That's Ric Flair right there, going overboard, making the jump over the ropes. And the nice thing about this is he's okay. But getting back to the fishing, we had over 107, 108 billfish caught. And you can always count on Dominican Republic to be fish thick. They're always there.
Miguel Ricard was SFC famous. He went overboard. That's where SISU's luck would end. They wouldn't catch anything on the third day, but Dona Lucy didn't catch anything on day 2. They come back, a hard charge like we hadn't seen before, and take the victory with, what, 5 white marlin on that final day.
Yeah, Robbie, they had a strong start. 4 white marlin on day 1. They were in contention. They dropped off on day 2, and we were like, where did Team Dona Lucy go? But on that final day, very efficient as well. 5 out of 6 they landed, and they obviously hoisted those flags and took home the trophy.
Yeah, again, it's kind of a bragging rights deal right there, but Dona Lucy, your champion from the last stop at the DR. Let's take a look at those points overall. CHARI with their win and all of those catch points, that's why they're ahead of the Breathe Easy. Dona Lucy, again, you don't get as many points for the white marlin, only 125. They caught the numbers, but the point value is why they're back in third.
And Peter, it really determines which event you fish. If you fish in the blue marlin events and you're just getting 350 point totals, that helps your total. But if you can catch in one of those white marlin events quantity, like we saw with Dona Lucy, you can be able to catch up. But in the Gulf division, CHARI on top.
$100,000 will be awarded to the winner of both the Gulf and $100,000 to the Atlantic division at the end of their respective seasons. Again, we will crown a champion in the Gulf, the Atlantic. We put them all together, and we will crown a champion in Puerto Rico, and that will be worth $1 million. We also have some championship fish points that or money totals that we'll be talking about as well from 3 different categories. Could win you $50,000 for each one of those fish. Team HALF-A-BUC took off on day number 1. They were the defending champs coming back for this 50th anniversary of the Blue Water Tournament. They're the ones to look for. Until somebody knocks them off, they're the guys to look for. But this isn't the only tournament we'll be in this year.
No, they want to get off to a hot start. Obviously, 4 events in the Atlantic division exclusively. We overall have 11 events, 2 different divisions. You have to at least fish 3 of these to get minimum points to be eligible for that $1 million prize at the end of the year. But obviously, if you fish more, those catch points will help your season-ending total.
Top 20 teams receive the event points. Again, those catch points just keep adding up. You're seeing the different varieties, the teasers, the things like that are going to drum up these fish. They first got to head out to their waters, or maybe they take a little time and try and catch some on the way.
Yeah, now that we set the scene for St. Augustine, we're time to catch some blue marlin, time to get in on the action to see who's going to stack those points early in the event, a multi-day event, who's going to get off to the hot start. Obviously, the bonus points aspect for the first blue marlin as well, Robbie.
24 boats headed out on the first day. We will crown 1 champion. Again, it's still early in this Blue Water Tournament. We're going to find out how it goes when we return here to the Sport Fishing Championship.
The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Salt Life, by Seahold, and by Smith Optics.
We are always living that salt life on the Sport Fishing Championship, St. Augustine, Florida, just like each and every stop of our 11 stops this 2022 inaugural season. The Blue Waters team GEDDY up and the other 23 boats heading out for that first day. There's more than one way to dredge up these billfish, Ronnie.
Yeah, not only the techniques that they're using and the approach they have, the crews that are on the boats, but also the specific types of boats as well. And it's all in culmination of trying to attack and catch these blue marlin, white marlin, spearfish, sailfish, and swordfish, all varying point totals. If you catch that first blue marlin, you get an extra 100 points. And Peter Miller, we're going to have a lot of different strategies depending on which billfish these teams want to target.
That's right. You know, sometimes that bait is going to be way offshore. Those weed lines are going to be way offshore, and these guys may make very long runs, bringing fuel bladders and that sort of thing. But for the most part, they're going to be looking at that great water. They are perfectionists. They are doing their measurements for their fuel.
Our strategy for the tournament is going to depend a lot on weather and how far we can run on any given day. We have about 2.5 hours to get to a spot before lines go in and 2.5 hours to get home before lines go out. Weather plays a big part of our strategy, how far we can run and where we can run to.
Our strategy for this tournament and for targeting billfish out of St. Augustine is find the good water. Typically the grass has been pretty bad here lately, so find clean water where the bait is and hope that it's a little bit deeper than the continental shelf, which is 180 foot here, and just try to stay focused for hopefully one bite all day.
It's a big ocean. You know, the marlin travel far and fast. Our strategy is going to be to cover as much water as we can in the depths that we know they hang out in. Just depends on the conditions and, you know, what the water temps tell us.
Yeah, the distance you're having to run and the boat that you're in is going to be a factor. I mean, if I'm making that long run in a small boat, maybe I'm making that run in a big boat. We caught up with one of the teams earlier and asked them that question on their plan.
My name is Luis de Souza, captain of the 47-foot Freeman Finicky out of Mayport, Florida, Jacksonville. The boat is a 47-foot Freeman. It's 47 feet long, 13 foot wide. It has quad 450 horsepower Mercury racing motors. Some of the advantages on a center console versus a sport fisher when it comes down to bill fishing is basically the speed, being able to get out there, you know, fast and before everyone and try to, you know, find whether it's a good edge or a good weed line or whatever it may be that you're trying to fish. Also being able to maneuver fast, turn the boat on the dime, having the person on the bow and you can chase the fish down. It's all about getting that release as fast as you can so you can get lines back out. On the other hand, sport fishers are really well for the way the spread looks in the water. A lot cleaner wash. They tend to race, people say they race more fish because of the home of the diesels. So that's always going to be an argument, which one's going to be better. I personally like the center consoles.
And Peter Miller, it often depends on the weather as well, but you've made those long runs. If you have good weather, which direction would you go?
Well, you know, it depends on the area, you know, what you're trying to target. But if you can make it out to that area where you know they're biting and you bring your fuel bladders and you've measured everything to perfection, you know you can get in and get out and get to the spot you want to go. You stick with a plan, you run out there as fast as you can, and you just get it done.
See the playing field, 100, 200. You go 300 miles if you wanted to make that move. But the big drop's one thing, Ronnie, but that Gulf Stream, the water moving up the Atlantic coast, that's going to play key here this week.
Peter talked about it. You want to go out to maybe where the sargassum is, where the different bait fish are, where the different drops are, but also the Gulf Stream and that current aspect. You get a mix of the current, of the drop-offs, and the bait fish. You're going to find either the mahi-mahi, the white marlin, the blue marlin. You're going to find the species you're probably wanting to target.
Team Bad Company that looks like they're planning on making that long run. That is a big bladder sitting in the back of that boat. They're not doing that. Every gallon, those are just dollar bills, and they don't want to put any more in that boat than they have to, but you have to have enough to not only get there, you've also got to make it back in time.
We ran for about 4.5 hours as hard as we could. We cannot go any further than we are right now and make it back on fuel. We knew doing this was going to be a hero or zero. But we're going to stick it out and give it all we got. We screw it up today, we still got tomorrow.
Hero to zero, swinging for the fences, call it what you will, guys. I mean, when you're putting that much weight in that boat, I mean, you've got to have a plan. Their plan is distance.
This is the 50th anniversary of this event, Robbie. You do not want to hold anything back. You're going for it. So if it's a long run that you think is going to take you to the promised land for blue marlin, that's what you do this week.
Okay, Peter, making that decision. All right, now they're kind of stuck with that decision. They're going to make that long run, right?
Yeah, and 4.5 hour run. I mean, you're thinking averaging 50 to 60 miles an hour based on that calm water. So we're talking 250 miles roughly that they could run out and then run back in. But then again, they're going to be mowing the lawn, trolling those areas. So they're going to be burning fuel there. And times 4 engines, boy, that fuel goes fast. And, you know, they don't care. They're in it to win it, and that's what it's all about.
Hundreds and hundreds of gallons will be burned up as well, but it is about the money. They're going out there for a reason. That's because they think the fish are out there, whether it be a championship fish and the mahi-mahi or if it's the blue marlin. I'm quite sure they're going out there for the blue marlin, but we might see guys, especially in these waters, I'm hearing the mahi-mahi might be one to look for as well this week.
Oh, well, you know the bite's really good out there, especially when you're catching marlin, because they're eating tunas, they're eating mahi, so they're all kind of hanging together. Those blue marlin are following big fish. They want to eat big bait so they can sit and digest and relax and chill for a day and then go eat again.
There's no doubt that's the plan out there. Now, They've got to have a general area they need to go for. I'm wondering how they must get on the good old boy hotline. We've heard it each week. I mean, there's charter captains that they're talking to throughout the week, and I heard last week was a good weather week until it came tournament time. We had to move it back a day or two. But, you know, what do you do? Uh-oh, it looks like already a blue marlin caught by Pez VELA. You saw that big jump there. I was like, what do you do on that first day? I hear they're over here, but as fast as these fish are running, Peter, I mean, 60 miles an hour, they could be somewhere totally different in no time at all.
Oh yeah, after they eat, they can kind of relax and coast, but they tend to have a tendency to just kind of paddle through looking for their next meal, and that's what these guys are doing. They want to go to the dinner table, and that's where they're running their boats to.
Let's go on board.
Hey, JoJo. Yeah. We got to count the leaders. We got yellows and blacks. Okay. Which one we got him on, a 400 or 300?
We got him on the 3. Yeah, that's the pitch bait.
That's the black one?
It's yellow. I thought it was 3.
No, yellow's 400. I had 3 yellows, 2 blacks.
3 yellows, 2 blacks.
How many we got left?
I guarantee you this is a yellow one.
Yeah, don't worry about it, Jacob.
We got 2 yellows.
We're counting.
We got 3 yellows. We got 3 yellows.
On the boat? Okay. Jeffrey, that's a 300-pound wind on.
Peter, hearing him talking about the weights of the line, those are not numbers that we saw at the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a 300-pound leader versus a 400-pound leader, it's a big difference. So the pressure you're putting on the fish, it needs to be consistent with which leader you're using. So they just figured out that particular rod is a 300-pound leader. He can still fight the fish like a champ, but you don't want to put that 400-pound heat on there if you don't have to. So they've got it all figured out. They have a lot of rods. They were rigged and ready for about anything, and they're on a fish. They're doing great. They're staying calm.
And they have big reels. I mean, the equipment is different than we saw at the last stop. Each and every stop has their own individual event rules. The last round you had to alternate anglers on who caught. It was just totally different. You couldn't sit in a fighting chair. Every stop has its own nuances, has its own fish. Here, we're looking for big reels, big line. You're seeing the big fish.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And what these guys are doing, you see them standing up fighting the fish, whereas a lot of guys are sitting in the chairs and they're ready for those 500, 600, 700-pounders. But these guys are mobile. They're moving around. They're running around the cockpit, and they're getting these fish very fast, especially in these center consoles, which there's a plethora of them in this particular tournament.
You see right there the legal catch, made contact with that leader. VELA is on the board, and that is a legal catch worth an extra 100 bonus points. The first blue marlin into every tournament gets an extra 100, so 350 plus 100. We've got a leader. 450 for VELA. They put their name on that leaderboard, and we'll see how long it can stay that way. Again, we're celebrating 50 years here at the Big Daddy Tournament on the East Coast, the NEFMA Blue Water Tournament. Stick with us.
Really excited to be here at the 50th Annual Northeast Florida Marlin Association Tournament. We're also here in the oldest city in the United States, St. Augustine, Florida.
I grew up right here in this marina, in this club, and around these docks, and I'm the person I am today probably because of this club, and there's always something to do with fishing, and it all sprung from right here.
It was started by a group of guys who literally were kind of going over the horizon. The fishing fleet here was just getting where they could reach the blue water. So they were learning about what was out there on the Gulf Stream. People thought they were crazy at first, you guys really aren't going that far. But once they started coming back and they hung up a few blue marlin, all of a sudden a lot more people were interested, which has kind of got us to where we are now.